This week's Grimm Fairytales. The 12 Huntsmen, the first of the anthology. There was once a king's son who was betrothed to a maiden whom he loved very much. And when he was sitting beside her and very happy, news came that his father lay sick unto death, and desired to see him once again before his end. Then he said to his beloved, I must now go and leave thee. I give thee a ring as a remembrance of me. When I am king, I will return and fetch thee. So he rode away, and when he reached his father, the latter was dangerously ill, and near his death. He said to him, Dear son, I wish to see thee once again before my end. Promise me to marry as I wish. And he named a certain king's daughter, who was to be his wife. The son was in such trouble that he did not think what he was doing, and said, Yes, dear father, your will shall be done. And thereupon the king shut his eyes and died. When therefore the son had been proclaimed king, and the time of mourning was over, he was forced to keep the promise which he had given his father, and caused the king's daughter to be asked in marriage, and she was promised to him. His first betrothed heard of this, and fretted so much about his faithfulness that she nearly died. Then her father said to her, Dearest child, why art thou so sad? Thou shalt have whatever thou wilt. She thought for a moment and said, Dear father, I wish for 11 girls exactly like myself in face, figure, and size. The father said, If it be possible, thy desire shall be fulfilled. And he caused a search to be made in his whole kingdom, until 11 young maidens were found, who exactly resembled his daughter in face, figure, and size. When they came to the king's daughter, she had 12 suits of huntsmen's clothes made, all alike, and the elven maidens had to put on the huntsman's clothes, and she herself put on the 12th suit. Thereupon she took leave of her father, and rode away with them, and rode to the court of her former betrothed, whom she loved so dearly. Then she inquired if he required any huntsmen, and if he would take the whole of them into his service. The king looked at her, and did not know her, but as they were such handsome fellows, he said, Yes, and that he would willingly take them. And now they were the king's 12 huntsmen. The king, however, had a lion which was a wondrous animal, for he knew all concealed and secret things. It came to pass that one evening he said to the king, Thou thinkest thou hast 12 huntsmen? Yes, said the king, they are 12 huntsmen. The lion continued, Thou art mistaken. They are 12 girls. The king said, That cannot be true. How wilt thou prove that to me? Oh, just let some peas be strewn in thy antechamber, answered the lion, and then thou wilt soon see it. Men have a firm step, and when they walk over the peas, none of them stir, but girls trip and skip and drag their feet, and the peas roll about. The king was well pleased with the counsel, and caused the peas to be strewn. There was, however, a servant of the king's, who favored the huntsmen, and when he heard that they were going to be put to this test, he went to them and repeated everything and said, The lion wants to make the king believe that you are girls. Then the king's daughter thanked him, and said to her maidens, Put on some strength, and step firmly on the peas. So next morning, when the king had the 12 huntsmen called before him, and they came into the antechamber, where the peas were lying, they stepped so firmly on them, and had such a strong, sure walk, that not one of the peas either rolled or stirred. Then they went away again, and the king said to the lion, Thou hast lied to me. They walk just like men. The lion said, They have got to know that they were going to be put to the test and have assumed some strength. Just let 12 spinning wheels be brought into the antechamber some day, and they will go to them and be pleased with them. And that is what no man would do." The king liked the advice, and had the spinning wheels placed in the antechamber. But the servant, who was well disposed to the huntsmen, went to them and disclosed the project. Then, when they were alone, the king's daughter said to her 11 girls, "Put some constraint on yourselves, and do not look round at the spinning wheels." And next morning, when the king had his 12 huntsmen summoned, they went through the antechamber, and never once looked at the spinning wheels. Then the king again said to the lion, "Thou hast deceived me. They are men, for they have not looked at the spinning wheels." The lion replied, "They have learnt that they were going to be put to the test, and have restrained themselves." The king, however, would no longer believe the lion. The 12 huntsmen always followed the king to the chase, and his liking for them continually increased. Now it came to pass that once, when they were out hunting, news came that the king's betrothed was approaching. When the true bride heard that, it hurt her so much that her heart was almost broken, and she fell fainting to the ground. The king thought something had happened to his dear huntsman, ran up to him and wanted to help him, and drew his glove off. Then he saw the ring which he had given to his first bride, and when he looked in her face he recognized her. Then his heart was so touched that he kissed her, and when she opened her eyes he said, "Thou art mine, and I am thine, and no one in the world can alter that." He sent a messenger to the other bride, and entreated her to return to her own kingdom, for he had a wife already, and a man who had just found an old dish did not require a new one. Thereupon the wedding was celebrated, and the lion was again taken into favor, because after all, he had told the truth. The second story is The Maid of Brakel. A girl from Brakel once went to St. Anne's Chapel at the foot of the Hindenburg, and as she wanted to have a husband and thought there was no one else in the chapel, she sang, "O holy Saint Anne, help me soon to a man. Thou knowest him right well. By Sutmer Gate does he dwell. His hair it is golden. Thou knows him right well." The clerk, however, was standing behind the altar and heard that, so he cried in a very gruff voice, "Thou shalt not have him. Thou shalt not have him." The maiden thought that the child Mary, who stood by her mother Anne, had called out that to her, and was angry and cried, "Fiddle-dee-dee, conceited thing, hold your tongue and let your mother speak." Third story is Goin' a-Traveling. There was once a poor man who had a son, who much wished to travel, but his mother said, "How canst thou travel? We have no money at all for thee to take away with thee." Then said the son, "I will manage very well for myself. I will always say, not much, not much, not much." So he walked for a long time and always said, "Not much, not much, not much." Then he passed by a company of fishermen and said, "God speed you. Not much, not much, not much." "What sayest thou, churl? Not much?" And when the net was drawn out, they had not caught much fish. So one of them fell on the youth with a stick and said, "Hast thou never seen me threshing?" "What ought I to say then?" asked the youth. "Thou must say, 'Get it, fool, get it, fool.'" After this, he again walked a long time and said, "Get it, fool, get it, fool," until he came to the gallows where they had got a poor sinner whom they were about to hang. Then said he, "Good morning, get it, fool, get it, fool." "What say thou'st, knave? Get it, fool? Dost thou want to make out that there are still more wicked people in the world? Is not this enough?" And he again got some blows on his back. "What am I to say then?" said he. "Thou must say, May God have pity on the poor soul." Again the youth walked on for a long while and said, "May God have pity on the poor soul." Then he came to a pit by which stood a knacker, who was cutting up a horse. The youth said, "Good morning. God have pity on the poor soul." "What dost thou say, thou ill-tempered knave?" And the knacker gave him such a box on the ear that he could not see out of his eyes. "What am I to say, then?" "Thou must say, 'There lies the carrion in the pit.'" So he walked on and always said, "There lies the carrion in the pit. There lies the carrion in the pit." And he came to a cart full of people. So he said, "Good morning. There lies the carrion in the pit." Then the cart pushed him into a hole, and the driver took his whip and cracked it upon the youth, till he was forced to crawl back to his mother. And as long as he lived, he never went out a-traveling again.